haven't noticed we're up. This Welcome to another exciting episode of the Android Buffet podcast.
Exciting it is.
Well, I ran.
There's a story on here that's really gonna piss me off.
Yeah. Well, I ran in the door to make sure I was available. I just relocated, so I ran in the door. I hooked up.
What do you mean? Wait, whoa. Wait, you what? You relocated?
Well, last week I was in my apartment, and this week my parents have returned, and they asked me to drive them up to the place in the country for the Jewish holiday that's happening on Monday and Tuesday. So I drove up this evening, and I left work at 4:30. It's a 2-hour drive, and I just got here a few minutes ago because even though they had the whole day to get ready, they weren't ready. So things
But
happen.
you got here on time, so
Yeah, so I ran.
all well that ends well.
I unloaded an entire van full of stuff. I started up all the equipment. I plugged in the equipment that I bring back and forth because I do some of it, some extra stuff I leave here. And I sat down in the chair. Oh, I had enough time to go to the bathroom, so it only took.
Well,
So
it
that was
sounds
20
like
minutes.
your guests were not an impediment at all.
Just the fact that I had to run, so I ran. But yeah, so
Well, you did a good job, man. Thank you.
well, you
made it
know
here on
that
time, and everything's cool.
you know that I run to make sure that I participate in this program every time something else is going on. So I'm here. I can relax. We have a live viewer on the YouTube chat who
Oh
says
my
hello.
gosh. Hello.
So I'm always happy to see live viewers. So a few things have happened this week. We'll talk about a few of them. So let's talk about some Android news. I have some home automation things to mention. And as you know, since I talked to you in the middle of the week, my 3D printing odyssey has not yet resulted in stability.
It will never result in stability unless you spend, a couple $1,000s on your machine, and that's okay. It's part of the adventure.
I'm more going with where I can actually print the thing I want to print.
Okay, well, yeah, you will get to that point.
That's the point I'm getting to right now. So I made some enhancements to the printer. I replaced a few parts because I replaced the parts, now I have to recalibrate. And then when you get into what recalibration means and various things now, technically when I put on the replacement extruder, I never calibrated that, and apparently there's a calibration procedure, but you need a caliper, so now I have a caliper. Didn't have
Oh yeah,
one.
got to have a caliper for 3D printers. The first tool you should get is a good set of digital calipers.
I got one.
Good.
Then I also had the problem that I ended up replacing the nozzle at Jerry's advice, and I discovered that the tool that they give you, which looks like it came out of an IKEA box, is not really easy to get a grip on. So I ordered one that actually has a handle so that I could properly tighten my nozzle. So now my nozzle is tight. Now everything seems to be printing, except now, even though it was adhering before this.
Oh, wait,
now
did you get like one of those tools that it's got like 4 different sizes of hole in it?
No, I got like one of those little screwdrivers with like a little ratchet thing at the end.
Oh, I never got one of those.
I didn't like buy top of the line tools for this. I wanted something that I could get some torque on, and now I have. And I discovered when I tried to take out the nozzle to see if that was the reason why large volumes of plastic were coming down in the middle of my beautiful print, which by the way was much nicer than the ones that I did initially before I upgraded everything.
Good.
So I am getting better. And, I wanted to see if it was that, and discovered that the nozzle was in fact loose, even though I thought I had tightened it with that, again, the stupid IKEA-like tool that they give you in the box. So I'm upgrading the tool, and as I turned it so that it would be nice and snug without over-tightening it, which admittedly nobody said anything about it on 3D printers, but they always tell you that you should not over-tighten things.
Yes. Especially when it comes to your nozzle, because what you're screwing it into is normally made out of aluminum, and it's thus really soft. And what you're screwing in is made of brass, and thus very soft. So you can't really torque down on them.
Yeah, so I turned it until I felt some level of resistance.
You might want to go a little bit more than that, but 1.5 Newton meters is not a lot.
Yeah, again, I just didn't want to break it, so that's why I
Sure.
was being careful. Then I discovered that the thing that you put over it, which I learned is called a sock, was missing. Apparently, somehow it had come off, and I was worried that I had to order some, which I wouldn't have time to do before I came here. So then I discovered that because I'd bought all these other spare parts to upgrade things, that there actually was a sock in one of those bags. I put it on, and the thing is printing wonderfully, except for the fact that now it won't adhere again. So I'm back to that. It seems to be not adhering to the bed properly, which someone suggested that means I probably need to clean the bed. Which
It could be cleaning the bed, or you may need to recalibrate your Z offset.
I thought of that too, but I also figured that I needed some. I actually do not have any high percentage isopropyl alcohol, so I figured I would order that and let it come while I was away. I'm not sure what your opinion of what you clean a print bed with is.
I use, I have like 95%. I bought like 2 liters of 99% ISO, and that's what I use. But I don't clean it very often.
Yeah, I
It's,
bought like a little spray bottle of 99%.
yeah.
But in my house, the most that I had for like medical purposes was 70%. So I figured I might as well buy a spray bottle so that I could clean it. And I figured all of the mistakes that I made probably did get some stuff in the, not necessarily on the entire bed, but in the center where everything was printing.
Well, it's also not, I don't know what surface you have.
Glass.
Oh, then shoot. And you're spraying it with hairspray?
No.
Oh, there's your mistake.
I've heard
Just
some
use the,
differing opinions about that, that you have to
you're,
spray your.
you're printing PLA, man. Hairspray on glass is like the most awesome thing in the world.
I have never used hairspray.
Get some Aquanet ultra high, uh, ultra hold. It's it's good stuff. And I mean, when you're gonna print something else, you just give the bed another shh, and you're golden. And when your bed is hot, things gets sticky and things stick to it. But then when it cools down, then things just pop off. It's awesome.
Okay. What's the name of that Aquanet you said?
Any really strong, um, any ultra hold, um, any strong hairspray. What I use is the brand name is Aquanet.
Okay, I will have to look that up. I don't have a particular brand preference, and I was going to have it sent to my house by the slowest shipping possible, so it will take a week to get there
Okay.
because I don't want it sitting out on the stoop. I have a really love-hate relationship with delivery people. I love to hate that they don't pay attention to the sign that says, please leave this in this nice box and leave it out in the rain instead.
Well,
They'll leave it
uh,
next to the box. So there's a sign that says, please leave in box. They will leave it not only next to the box, but they will leave it out in the rain instead of under the overhang that would protect it from the rain that the building has.
that almost sounds like they're doing it on purpose.
No, it almost sounds like they don't want to walk up the stairs, that they're probably tossing it from ground level. So I have a stoop. You walk up a couple of stairs, and then there's the front door.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Yep.
Yeah, they're fairly common in many areas, and so I think they're at ground level. They're tossing it onto the stairs, and therefore they're not going and opening up the little box that's there. Like 3 weeks ago, I ordered a garden chair because the area behind the building was just the cement was fixed, and I
Yeah.
thought it might be nice to sit outside, so I ordered a chair. The chair came in a chair-sized box because it wasn't like disassembled. No, as in it wasn't a flat pack. You put it together. The chair came assembled, so you can imagine the size of the box. Not only was it raining, this time they didn't even bother going halfway up the stairs. They actually put it blocking the stairs in the middle of the driveway in the rain.
Well, at least you knew it was there.
Yeah. As I said, the relationship is me loving to hate uh, their approach to this. Don't get me started on the people who, the like same day delivery people. On Monday, I put in an order to have several boxes of food brought to me in preparation for, again, my parents coming back to town. I ordered food, stored it for them, and then brought it here for them. So the instructions said, please leave at garage. And ring, because I have a doorbell set up at the garage. You ring the doorbell, I come out, I bring the food directly into the garage. I don't have to go up and take like 5 boxes of food down the stairs back again from ground level just to bring it back up again. So they didn't ring the bell, but I have, again, a camera, so I saw them, and I ran outside. And this is like the 5th time I've tried to explain to them. They keep insisting that the store does not tell them the instructions. This time, though, they had a different answer than previously. The guy told me not only did the store not tell him, he didn't speak English.
Well, all right.
So I tried to explain it to him in Spanish, which didn't work. Again, then he admittedly my Spanish isn't wonderful, but then he did understand me. Then he went back to the store, didn't tell me. I said, it's on the receipt. It says it on the piece of paper you're holding. It says, please do this. But anyway, I've decided that I'm just going to live with this, but it does frustrate me every time. Why do they put delivery instruction boxes on things if nobody reads the instructions?
To make you feel better?
Anyway, thus is life. So in some interesting news this week, we don't have that much. It's still slow, but remember, next week is Google I/O. So there'll probably be some things to talk about.
Ooh, and it's all online and all free, right?
Yeah. And again, you don't have to watch it live. You can watch it pre-recorded after the fact.
Pre-recorded after the fact.
Yeah.
Does that not sound funny to you?
Yes.
Pre-recorded after the fact. So are you recording it beforehand or afterhand?
You're recording it beforehand and you're watching it afterhand.
Well, you sure can't record it afterwards and watch it before.
Only if you have a time machine.
Sounds funny.
Okay, but either way, you can. It will be recorded so that you can watch it subsequently.
Yay!
At your leisure.
Ooh, I like leisure.
Yes. So in news, Google Assistant will now sing you a song about getting vaccinated. By the way, it doesn't compare to its Wash Your Hands song. I prefer that one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, its mask wearing song was much better too. I didn't think they really hit it. By the way, I'm not judging this on the subject of the song. I'm judging it on the quality of the song itself. Okay. No one expects wonderful things from a song sung by a digital assistant. I'm just saying that I thought they did a better job previously.
So they're slipping.
Yeah. Lately, the best vaccine parody songs have been the ones that have been done on The Late Show, which I've seen on YouTube. He has a nice variant. Every time he talks about vaccinations, he has a different vaccine song.
That's kind of funny.
Someone put like a little clip thing together. It was very nice. Anyway, so if you want to hear your Google Assistant sing, ask it to sing the vaccine song. Or is it the vaccination song? I forget. Google is overhauling privacy and security information for apps in the Play Store. So part of this is in response to Apple. Apple did something similar to this, and again, Google isn't doing the same thing, but Google has said, okay, fine. People want more visibility, so we're going to give them more visibility as well.
Good.
So that includes, there's a picture, if you look at the article linked in the show notes, of the example of a privacy label on the Apple App Store. So you can see exactly what they're doing, and Google wants to offer similar data, with developers stating what type of data the app collects or stores and how it is used.
I think this is so much better than a privacy policy.
Nobody reads privacy policies. Well, I do, but we're back to I'm not normal.
It's not only that nobody reads them, but they're so hard to write. Whereas this is the data that I need. and then they share this is the data they're getting, and it's simpler for users, and it is so much simpler for developers.
I forget. Does Android Buffet have a privacy policy? I forget if I put one on the site. If not, I probably should.
I mean, the last project I worked on, I paid like $200 to have a policy privacy written.
No, I've written a
Privacy
few,
policy.
but I haven't written any ones for like a business. For as I said, I have a few websites that I'm the admin of where I've written a privacy policy. I forget if I put one on Android Buffet, which I'm also the administrator of. But the basic gist of it is we don't know anything about you. We don't care to know anything about you. And if we have any advertisement on the page, please see their privacy policy. So I usually try to be pretty detailed about that without saying very much. But most of the stuff I do, I don't know if I know anything about anybody. Anyway, but I'm not a business now. I've read, my employer's privacy policy. It seems pretty easy to understand. Also,
Really? I would expect your employer to have a 90-page privacy policy.
2.5.
Awesome.
And it's mostly frequently asked questions. So the format is, what do we do? What do we collect? What do we do with it? But again, it's the whole GDPR thing. They're actually pretty specific about how privacy policy is structured.
Cool.
It's supposed to be very straightforward and simple. So,
if you're gonna have government regulations, try and make them as little burdensome as possible.
GDPR is not lacking in burden.
That's true.
However, the part of their policy that says that you must have a privacy policy and it must state certain things in simple language, I certainly appreciate, because otherwise, in my experiences, businesses are not motivated to make documents readable.
No, it's not the business motivation. It's that they hire lawyers to write these things.
Yeah.
And lawyers are not paid to write short documents.
I'm aware. I've also talked to my employer's lawyers.
Lawyers are not here to make things simple.
Probably not, but I have a reputation, and even on this program, I think I have a reputation for occasionally making things more complicated than they need to be, or at least that's what people tell me. I've been accused many times of overthinking situations. But Google is one-upping Apple's approach to privacy, but they're also adding a safety and security section, which will explain whether an app follows data encryption practices, etc.
Yay.
So again, I think it's nice that they're doing this. I know that developers will get a bit annoyed because they'll have to fill out some paperwork. But again, I think it is better for the user of an app if they have the choice.
Choice. Isn't that a novel concept?
I happen to like choice. I think that's one thing that we've consistently agreed on, that we believe in choice. Again, our interpretation of what that means varies slightly, but I think we both have consistently said that we believe that in software specifically, we think choice is a good thing. I also am a big believer in sensible defaults, because not everybody wants to deal with the overwhelming choice. But
here, any of the defaults is...
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but at least you have a choice. Your choice is either you take it the way that it was originally designed, or you change it, which I like it when companies allow you to do. If you use Gboard, Gboard will support clipboard screenshots. So essentially, you'll be able to see screenshots in your clipboard and paste them. That sounds interesting to me.
Cool.
Also, Gboard was updated on Wear OS, so apparently Google's giving some attention to Wear OS. And I mentioned previously that they have some sort of session at Google I/O about it, indicating that they might be ready to stop ignoring it.
That would be nice.
Yep. And
Because that would give us a choice.
yeah, I also look forward to the day when I'm wearing a watch more often again. Like when I'm leaving the house and going places where I care what time it is. As I've mentioned, most of my leaving the house lately has been leisure as opposed to business. Once I get back to leaving the house for business purposes, I probably will want my watch again. And I want it to be better when that day comes.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's some stuff going on in home automation. Project Chip, which we've talked about, has an official name now. It's now called Matter.
Sure, because that's easy to Google.
Does that matter? Also, yeah. Also, the Zigbee Alliance has renamed themselves because they're now no longer purely Zigbee, because they're now Zigbee and Matter. They are now the Connectivity Standards Alliance. Good for them. So that means that we're moving closer to actual, well, I can't call them chip devices, Matter devices. And since we are both users of Home Assistant at various times, Home Assistant remains committed to actually supporting Matter, or whatever it gets called next, as soon as it is viable to do so, and if it is possible to do so, because they want to. To that end, the creator of Home Assistant did post a blog post explaining why Home Assistant does not have an integration API, an external one specifically.
And why is that?
Because they want to implement other people's APIs as opposed to having other companies implement theirs. So there's no vendor lock-in. So it's a philosophical thing. So essentially, Home Assistant has to be able to integrate with other things. Other things shouldn't have to integrate with Home Assistant.
Sounds a lot like we want to take your toys, but we don't want to share our toys.
Well, not really. Because what it comes down to is, if, let's take a device, a theoretical one. Let's say it's a smart toaster that you're really excited about. And you decide that you want Home Assistant integration. There are two ways you can do that. The developer of Home Assistant can write an integration, or a developer, since it's open source, anybody can contribute it to Home Assistant, and Home Assistant knows how to integrate with the Smart Toaster's API. Alternatively speaking, the people at the Smart Toaster company could go and write it so that it would work with Home Assistant by writing code into Home Assistant, but by implementing something that would have it talk to Home Assistant using Home Assistant's language. So the goal of Home Assistant is, again, to use downstream open source packaging for its support. Therefore, that wouldn't work. So it essentially ensures that the integration with anything is open and could be reproduced somewhere outside of Home Assistant, making it free for implementation.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that if Home Assistant implements something, somebody who works with OpenHAB could read the Home Assistant code, see how you implement integration with that, and implement its own integration. Now, if the concern is that you'd have a bunch of projects that were not necessarily stable, destabilizing your platform, remember, you could still require API keys and only give them to code that you looked at or that you trusted. But again, we're back to, they believe that the actual code to interact with things should be on the Home Assistant side, integrating with an open API that the provider of the device actually, or the service actually does. And if I will quote the last line, devices with local APIs will still work 10 years from now, and no one will be held hostage by vendor login because some of their devices only work with one system. This stance will hurt us in the short term because we get less integrations. It is more work for a manufacturer to create an API and then create a Home Assistant integration that works with it.
Okay.
So essentially, they're trying to encourage companies to have local APIs that are not dependent necessarily on their servers. Because remember the long-standing history of companies shutting down integrations because they don't want to maintain them.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of the integration being maintained outside and it connecting to an API that the company opens up, preferably locally on the device, makes sense. It's a little more work at the start, but it's in the long term, it means the device is usable even after you give up on it. Look at all the companies that have shut down their local APIs. Look at Logitech, who shut down the one for the Harmony, and then it caved into pressure and allowed you to turn it back on, etc. Look at Blink, who I was talking about, who, if you try to do anything with it locally, they will actually threaten to turn off your cloud service.
That's just not right.
Yeah, but that's what it comes down to. These things are not right. Anyway, I also did some home automation work in the last week. I installed and activated my new buttons so that I have what looks like an extra light switch in places that I didn't wire a light switch. So next to my new door that I had installed, I have put one of these switches so I can turn the lights on in either side of the room. So there are two buttons. One controls the lights on one side of the threshold, and the other controls the lights on the other side of the threshold. Since this is a new wall, it is not actually a load-bearing wall, and it has no electrical wiring running through it. There would be no way to run a switch without some work. So since I didn't need one, I just used a little wireless switch.
Good job.
Well, the next step is teaching it that if I hold down the button, it does something next. So I did a lot of tweaks in that area. I also fixed a bunch of notification bugs that I had in my system. And I'm going to be doing that again here because while I was doing that, I also upgraded the notification system for this house, the one that I'm currently visiting, where I built one here over the summer. So I'm going to make it so that when I'm not here and nobody's here, that if there's a security breach of the house's outer perimeter, then it will notify me. Over Telegram, actually, is what I'm using for that.
That's kind of funny.
Why?
But I know Telegram's got a really easy to use API. I just find it amusing.
Well, the problem was that if I used the Home Assistant app, you can only connect it to one Home Assistant instance. So I needed something to connect to multiple Home Assistant instances. So essentially, I used Telegram bots. So each house has a bot, and that bot will send me messages. And in the future, I could program it to respond, to when there's an alert, do something. And then messages I send back could be interpreted and activated without me having to log in or do anything. And I could set up that integration to work for people who don't have access to the whole system. Anyway, things are getting better and more accurate, although I still have some wiring to take care of with that.
That's good.
In other news, as we wrap up, Google's adding YouTube TV to the YouTube Roku app to get around their dispute with Roku. So they've just, since the YouTube app is still under contract, the YouTube TV app has been removed. They've just put the YouTube TV functionality inside the regular YouTube app.
From a customer point of view, I would kind of like this.
Yeah, but I imagine Roku is not happy with that. And to be honest, that will probably not help negotiations when the YouTube app contract expires in December.
Well, if Roku dumps YouTube, then that's going to hurt Roku. That's going to hurt Roku a lot more than just dumping YouTube TV.
I just invested in an upgrade to my Roku. You remember I got the nicer remote.
Yes.
So I just upgraded that, and it's built into my TV. So if I have to go hook in a secondary device into my Roku TV, that will annoy me. I bought a Roku TV because I like the Roku OS as something that I thought would be stable into the future, rather than like the Vizio SmartCast system, where what's the motivation for Vizio to upgrade that thing?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Roku sells their boxes, therefore they have a motivation outside of the device they've already sold me to continue to upgrade. Anyway, that aside, The Roku remote's working nicely. I have not had to pick up my Logitech remote in a while. Since Logitech won't be making them anymore, I figured it was time to start thinking. I did have to. I just upgraded my Myth TV remote to like a little simple one, and that also worked seamlessly. So now I have one remote when I am watching streaming content, and then another remote that I pick up when I am watching other content. So I am back from one remote to two, but I got the smallest possible remote, so it's not that bad. Going back to Google, they're going to make two-factor authentication mandatory to make people more secure. What do you think, Jerry? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I hate it. I hate it a lot. It makes me angry.
Why?
Frustrated.
Why?
Because I don't want to.
You don't have to.
They said they were making it mandatory.
Yeah, but you don't have to use Google. There's always an option.
Oh, no.
And that's not necessarily the best answer, which is when a company gets upset. Excuse me, when people get upset at a company, and the answer is, well, you can just stop patronizing that company. That's not always fair.
Especially for something which is so pervasive in my life.
Yeah, that's sort of where the problem comes in. And that's where I'm not going to say I fully disagree with some of the approaches governments are taking to regulation of tech companies, but I fully understand why people in government are saying, do these companies have too much power over our lives? That is certainly a comment I understand. Again, do not agree with how they approach that problem, but I do agree that is something that people should ask themselves. Anyway, moving on to one final thing. The people at Walmart are going to offer an inexpensive Android TV 4K box. If you can call something that looks like it's the size of a Matchbox really a box. It looks a little small. It may fall into the dongle category. But looking at these pictures, apparently it may be under $30. 4K over HDMI, support for Dolby Audio, and charged using a micro USB port.
And if it plays Plex and YouTube, which I suspect it will, then
it has the picture shows that it has a YouTube button
and a Netflix button.
What really annoys me is what we were talking about, which is once that service is if I don't use the service, why do I want a button for it?
Right.
And two, once that service goes out of business, you'd have to buy another remote.
And are they always the same? Are they configurable? Maybe they're configurable.
Well, no, because these companies make money by putting branded buttons on their remotes.
The button can have the name on it. I just want to make it do something else.
Yeah. With Android, you're much more likely to be able to hack that somehow.
Yeah, I agree.
But not with Roku. Now, what I would really say is, if you make that much money off of putting buttons on your remote, charge more for the remote without the pictures on it.
Oh yeah, totally.
I would totally give them. How much money could it be? To be honest.
Maybe they're subsidizing the cost of the box.
No, theoretically, yes. I'm just saying I would love the option.
Me too.
But then there's the problem of now you have to make another remote run, and there's economies of scale and doing in multiple SKUs that come into play.
But a cheap Android 4K box, I could probably get behind that.
Well, remember, I have the Chromecast, the Google Chromecast, and I've been waiting for it's $50. I've been waiting for the first time it goes on sale, and I would get a second one for travel.
Yep.
Because I started out keeping a little Roku in my bag, and then when I went to Bulgaria, the Roku wouldn't work because it doesn't support adding a VPN, and that created a problem when I went out of the country. Also, Roku isn't wonderful at hard drive based playback. So I was using a Fire TV, and then side loading Android apps on it. But I would love something that worked better with Android apps that didn't require me to use the Amazon App Store. So the something that has full Android TV support would be very useful to me.
I concur.
Yeah.
I agree.
And again, I would predict that Google's response to this might be to, not all the time, but to offer a sale on the Google TV to encourage more people to buy both of them. So Walmart's one may be permanently that price, but I wouldn't be surprised if Google said, okay, well, we're at 50, we'll have like a holiday sale for 40. I don't think they'll go to 30, but 40 would work for me. Anyway.
Does it carry Plex? And if it's Android, it has to carry Plex, right?
Yeah, if it supports Android TV has Plex support. And I have been using my Plex. I did watch an entire television series using Plex recently that was part of my ripping collection.
So my question is it underpowered?
You need surprisingly little power to do one of these little boxes.
Well, maybe, but the UI in Plex is not simple.
Yeah, with this
it uses a lot of 3D acceleration.
Well, with this we just don't know. So,
are there any reviews of how snappy the?
Well, remember, nobody has it yet. They've just found the listing for it.
Can I play my games? Can I play games on it?
We don't know. So all we know is that the price we see may change when it's available for purchase, but apparently there's a product listing that you can't buy yet. So we're all excited about the product listing, but we don't actually know anything about the product.
Well, that's annoying.
Well, again, you have to put the product listing up at some point. I know what I would do. If not for the fact that I don't want to buy a new television, I would just buy a television that had Google Android or Google TV built into it.
I agree.
In hindsight, because that may be the better move in the long term for me than keeping with Roku. But I have a television. I don't want to buy an entire television. So I will save that for
Roku recently came out with a pretty decent soundbar.
Which has a built-in Roku.
Right. And you just, connect the HDMI out of the soundbar into the TV and you're set.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool because who uses the speakers on their TV?
Plenty of people, just not people.
Speaker TVs normally, TV speakers normally suck.
The reason is the TV gets thinner and thinner. You don't really have enough room to put a speaker in there. That's it.
Right. So a soundbar is something you could take from TV to TV, and it contains so it's like the best of both worlds, in that the maker of that is encouraged to continue updating it. But you can move it from TV to TV as TV technology moves forward.
If I didn't have other things, I would have seriously considered, especially this week when it's on sale.
I've been thinking the same thing, but now I'm starting to wonder if when the YouTube contract comes up, that the YouTube is going to come off. And if Roku loses YouTube, then Roku suddenly becomes significantly less valuable to me.
And I'd agree with that. It's not, but the problem is I have a lot of Rokus. I installed them for all of my relatives, so everywhere I go, I have a Roku because it's easy to just buy one and leave it hooked up to every television. I have one in here. I have one at home, the Roku TV. I have one, as I said, that I was carrying around in a bag before I decided that I would be better off carrying around a Chromecast.
Somebody needs to hack the Roku to put Android on it.
You never know.
Because, the Roku Ultras are nice hardware.
Yeah. And I have one Roku Ultra, but for the most part, most of the televisions, I've been buying the Streaming Stick Plus, which is essentially the $40 one with the TV remote with the voice control.
Huh.
Not that I've used much of the voice control, even though it's not bad.
All of my Rokus are Ultras.
Yeah, but remember, it's built into my primary television, the one I have at home. But when I'm visiting somewhere and I'm hanging around in a guest room, I don't really feel like I need the higher level hardware. It's the equivalent of me having a cable box in every room. Not that I'd need a cable box, but
I think it's just an old habit, and that when I buy something I can't modify myself, I want to get the highest version possible so that I don't it doesn't obsolesce very quickly.
I can understand that. For me, this one is much better than the first Roku I ever had. So I figure, I've already upgraded. So that brings us to the end of our program for this week. We'll see what I'm up to next week when I will probably still be sitting in this chair.
Well, one suspects you will get up between now and then.
Yeah, I'm just saying I will not be relocating again. I'm going to the holiday I'm here for is Monday, Tuesday, so I probably won't come back till Sunday of the following week. And I might have to go back to Florida.
Yay!
By the way, not for the reason that I went there last time. My parents have decided to renovate their apartment there, so they want to go down there, move all the stuff into storage with my help, and then come back to New York until it's done. So I'll be there to do well, not all the heavy lifting, but some of the heavy lifting. Which means you get to hear from me in the third studio.
Cool.
Why not? I'm already prepping for the day when I once again come to you from on the road. Which I don't know.
We should totally do that.
Well, remember, there are all the sorts of new flights to Jacksonville.
I know I have 3 friends literally on flights to Jacksonville at this very moment.
Yeah, but you've noticed that they've added some new service recently. Airlines, and I'm just saying this as an enthusiast of transportation, which is another one of my areas of enthusiasm. Being as international travel is not something that is making a comeback quite so fast, airlines are taking those planes and putting them on domestic routes because people are flying more domestically. So they'll take their bigger planes and put them into en routes, and then they'll take some of their smaller planes and put them onto new routes and try new combinations.
Good.
So that's potentially convenient. I saw that there was a new New York Jacksonville flight coming online. And I've always wanted to visit Jacksonville because one of my oldest co-hosts live there.
I'm not old.
I'm
Did you
afraid-
just call me? You just called me old.
No, I called you one of
You
my
said
oldest
I was
co-hosts.
oldest. Oldest.
In terms of how long we
Oldest means older than older.
No, oldest in terms of how long we've been co-hosting together.
Mm-hmm.
Like one
Don't
of my
you try and backpedal now.
No, you've heard the expression some of my oldest friends, and when you say that expression, you don't say that your friends are old. It's referring to the longevity of your relationship. But I haven't seen you since what, 2000 and was it 11?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, we have not been in the same place, and I narrowly missed you last time. I have been looking forward to. You said you were going to try to drop something off at a place where I had a surveillance camera, and I was looking forward to just seeing you on the surveillance camera.
Yeah, and that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I still haven't mailed it. And now I don't even know where it is because we cleaned the house because we have guests coming.
It'll
And
pop
when
up.
I say clean the house, I mean we keep the house clean. That's not that big a deal.
It'll pop
Right.
up. Let's put it this way. I asked you to 3D print something for me, and then I got so I talked so much about 3D printers I decided to buy one. And the only question is whether or not I will learn how to properly use the 3D printer before or after you mail it to me.
Oh, that's funny.
Again, I was really excited. I keep trying to print this Wyze camera mount so I can move my security cameras now that I have this changed layout. And that's what keeps failing. So I got like halfway, a really good quality piece until the gigantic blob. Fixed what I hope I fixed the gigantic blob problem. And now it won't get any higher because it keeps batting, the nozzle keeps batting the entire thing off the bed. So, oh well, I'll get there. So enjoy your house guests.
Thank you.
I,
And you enjoy your holidays.
I try. It's been different the last year because of various things related to the pandemic. So, for example, usually my brother would be here. He's decided not to come because if he leaves the state that he lives in, his kids' school will make them wait for a test before coming back in. So he doesn't want to take them out of school again for that. So I don't blame him. But it would have been nice to see him, as all of us have finished our vaccination regimen, so we probably could stay closer together than we were before. On that note, at least the nice thing about being in the country, at least, is there's nice places to walk. You know, fresh air and all that. So maybe I'll take a walk. I just wish there was good cell phone reception up here. That really stinks.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, when I take a walk, I lose all signal. That doesn't really bother me, but when I'd like to know that if I, let's say, fell in a ditch or tripped on something, that I could call for assistance, especially on some of the roads around here. This is not a sidewalk neighborhood. So shall we adjourn until next week?
Yes. Let's call it a day. Call it a night. Call it a podcast.
This is the end of our 539th episode. So next week
Wow.
we will be going to 540.
It's crazy talk.
Yeah. I am looking forward to continuing this until we get to a much higher number. I haven't decided what number that would be, where I would finally say, okay, we've done enough of these. We haven't gotten there yet, and we've been talking for, what now, 11 years?
Something like that.
Well, no, we started in July of 2010, so it's coming up on 11 years.
Yep.
Yeah, we missed that 10-year anniversary bash. I was hoping to do something special for that.
It's all right.
But we're atypical people. Maybe we'll do a 12-year anniversary bash.
Maybe.
By the way, the bash in this case was going to be me trying to figure out how to get to Jacksonville. So eventually I'll do that. Sounds like a nice place.
I like it.
Yeah, and you visited New York, so you could always come here again.
In theory.
I hear Broadway's coming back.
I gotta go.
Enjoy your evening.
All right. Y'all take care. Bye, folks.
Send me the recording when you come back from the airport, if you could.
I may be able to get it to you before I walk out, but
Okay, if not, then we'll post it a little late.
all right. Later.
The recording has stopped.
To all of you on the live stream, good night and good luck.